Hello everyone, my name of course is Artimage and welcome to day 3 of VEDA Vlog Everyday April, where this year I'm going a little further into the background myself for my gaming and the causes I'm passionate about. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to start going in depth on the games that I got heavily involved with, and we're going to start with the first one of those, which is Dungeons & Dragons version 3.5 and onward until I'm done there. So, as I mentioned, most of my introduction to Dungeons & Dragons was thanks to digital means with Baldur's Gate and similar games where they took the D&D formula and rule set and put them into a digital system. Now, after I got access to the internet regularly, I started looking into the companies that were mentioned in the credits and the licensing and everything like that I saw during the loading and splash screens of Baldur's Gate. So that led me to TSR and Wizards of the Coast and things like that. And so it let me go look up materials provided by these companies. Now, because of being aware of global play communities and learning about the living campaigns throughout the world and things like that, I want to keep my experience as pure as possible on an official basis. That way we're all playing relatively with the same rules, the same ideas, the same erratas, the same as much as possible. So my first real introduction with D&D in any form came in the early 2000s, 2003, where that same girl that I mentioned yesterday, who I was dating for a while there, picked up the D&D beginner's box from a Kohl's or Chapters bookstore, where it wasn't very in-depth. It was a quick dungeon crawl with a small handful of early level characters that was just meant to get your feet wet. So even though this girl was the one to kick it off for our circle of friends, I'm the one who actually dove in. I wound up picking up the cores and studying them meticulously. I'm the one who looked into the RPGA system, became an officiating GM through that program. I'm the one who looked into the campaign settings, the expansions, the classes supplements. Now, the one big downside to me personally when it came to my D&D experience, which has not changed with any RPG really for the most part, is I tend to be the one who's the GM where everyone else gets the chance to play. So as much as I'll have ideas for these adventures and worlds and characters to interact with, I'll have characters that I want to be that I don't get the chance to develop and play as and explore and flesh out. In the end though, it was about 5 years of really good times and memories. Now, I don't say 5 years of really good experiences though. That's as long as I was playing D&D for. When 4th edition came out, being part of the RPGA, I thought it was part of my responsibility to keep up with that, so I invested in those. I have to say, I really agree with the majority of the public when it comes to 4th edition. It was very much not what D&D was developed as. It was very clear that they wanted to draw in a broader market, so they made the game resemble something more people would be familiar with, an MMORPG. So you didn't have so much attacks that were modified by your choices and feats, your class abilities, and things like that. Instead, what you had were various powers, which were just different kinds of attacks. Some that could be used at will as many times as you wanted, some that could be used once per encounter, some that could be used once per day, giving you a sort of cooldown effect, much like, as I said, an MMO. And as much as 3rd edition introduced the idea that a tactical map was really going to help you out in terms of keeping track of your combat, in 4th edition it was required. That much was very clear from the go. They wanted you to be using it as a tactical game. Now, as I got exploring other game systems, my interest in D&D very much started to wane, as well as just thinking on a lot of concepts. One of the ones that really put me off is kind of a weird one, but it stands out there for me, is the way that HP handles and affects your character, where you could have 120 HP max, and in that you could be down to 17 HP or 4 HP, and you're still swinging your sword or casting your spells as though you just rolled out of bed that morning. Whereas by the time 4th edition came around, I had had a chance to see the A Song of Ice and Fire RPG. I had been looking into Shadowrun and these systems handle things very differently. In the Song of Ice and Fire RPG, you could take big hits from very basic enemies, and the way to counteract you just dying outright is you had injuries and wounds, which would impose negative modifiers to soak up some of these hits for you. And the way Shadowrun went about was also very different, where you had two different ways of tracking your damage. One, your actual physical damage for wounds and things like that. The other one being called the stun track for non-lethal damage, just superficial blows and bruisings and things like that. But both of these would have modifiers to the dice pool that you roll. Now maybe I'm just a specific sort of player slash GM where I want a little more representation in the game for things that happen to the players. But it just adds another level of interest to me, where it really opens up for more character development and story opportunity, where you're having all these struggles come down, you have all these ways where you should be being reduced in your ability and you still manage to come out on top despite the fact that you struggled. Or these conditions where you've just been set up for everything to just go wrong, and in the end you find out that's just been the whole plan and it's some big trap for you anyway. These things just add to a story. So with that, I have not been involved in Dungeons & Dragons in any way since 4th edition ending just before... No, probably just into 2010s when I got rid of my books. I wound up giving them off to a local GM, Lorenzo Raising Zozo Soma, who's looking at opening up a new gaming facility, which he'll have my support for. So what about you? Was D&D your first foray into role-playing games? Was it something else? Are you still playing it now? Do you enjoy 5th edition? Was 4th somehow your favorite? Talk about it with me in the comments below. So what comes next? Well, I think we're going to change up flavors a little bit. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about the Vindices game that brought me deep into that hobby, Warhammer 40,000. So until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and I will talk to you soon. Good boy. Hi. Can you kiss? No kiss? I love you.